So basically, I set the podcast up to provide a platform for match-going football fans to voice their stories and experiences. Um, the podcast idea kind of came from, I mean, I never really listened to podcasts before, and Jamie Carragher set one up about this time last year, The Greatest Games, and I remember coming home from work one day thinking, how hard could it be to put my own spin on it, sort of thing. And obviously trying to get match-going football fans involved into it. Turns out it was probably a lot harder than I thought it would be. I think anyone these days can kind of do a podcast, but they probably do it and then they go, "Oh, I've done a few episodes now and it's not really for me, or people aren't listening to it." So I wanted to make it quite niche, something that everyone can listen to. Obviously, I'm a Liverpool fan, but I didn't want it to be too Liverpool heavy. I wanted it to be something that all match-going football fans and people in general can listen to. So, just because you're a Liverpool fan doesn't mean you can't listen to a Man United episode or vice versa. You can kind of compare and contrast these different stories and experiences. So,
And is that kind of your unique selling point, the fact that it's about those stories of people going to matches?
yeah, and that's exactly it. And, people that do it, I've not done one where people come away and go, "Oh, I didn't really enjoy that." People go, "Oh, that was dead good, that wasn't it?" Or really therapeutic. It has got match-going football fans on, but it's also I've had some ex-pros on, football writers, journalists too, and that's only because just because they're in that area of expertise doesn't mean they're not a fan of their team.
Of course.
So when those options and those opportunities come up, I think you've got to take them. And that's really where it's come from, and it's kind of escalated from there, really.
I saw that you've had some big names in football. Do you get nervous at all before speaking to those people?
I probably did it first, but then I kind of knew when I did the first episodes. The first episode I did was with Keith Salmon, so he's resident here in the Isle of Man. He's seen everything at Liverpool. He's been going since the days of Shankly up until now, and as soon as I did that first episode, I was kind of like, yeah, this is what I'm good at. And I've been working in an office since I left school when I was 16, working a 9-to-5 job, and I've never really known what I want to do, but I know now. I think that doing sports journalism or sports media, obviously football orientated, is what I really enjoyed doing. So when I did that first one, I was kind of like, no, I'm actually all right at this. I think if you listen to the podcast, you know that I'm quite opinionated when it comes to the footy, and that's essentially what it's all about.
You sound relaxed though as well, so
Yeah.
It's like you obviously know the sport in and out, and it's kind of like when I listen to it, you're kind of like the voice of the people, I would imagine. So it was really easy to listen to.
Yeah, and I think that's what people get from it as well. What I wanted to do with the episodes is, if you kind of like shut your eyes and listen to it per se, you kind of go on this person's journey. So with the episodes I do, we start with, the moment that everyone has as a football fan, going up the stairs, seeing the pitch for the first time, and having that moment, and then you go up into really following the team as a teenager, then you being an adult, and then obviously if you're a football fan that's maybe in the early 20s that I've had on, you get that different sort of perspective as well. So when people listen to it, they go on this journey with someone, which is what people really enjoy.
That's lovely. And you talked about it maybe being a little bit harder than you were expecting. What have you learnt so far, and kind of where do you want to take the podcast going forward?
Learned so far, I mean, I've got literally no experience in doing this, so I'm kind of learning with every episode I've done. I'd probably say the main things I've learned is to kind of say your big parts at the right time. So, people listening to it will go, they might listen to someone and go, "Oh, they're rabbiting on a little bit here." So I'll be like, right, let's drop a bomb in there and see if we can, but why do you think that? So that's kind of what I wanted to get from the podcast, because there's hundreds of football podcasts out there. What's mine going to have that's different? I'll ask the questions and throw the spanner in the works, as it were, to make it a bit different. Going forward with the podcast, I mean, at the moment, it's just trying to get the podcast name out there, people to know about it and listen to it. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying this time next year, at the moment I'm in the hundreds of listeners, but why can't I be in the thousands of listeners next year? I think you've got to be quite ambitious with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Are you open to people getting in touch with you if they have a specifically interesting story from their childhood or from their life about football? Are you open to people coming forward and asking to be on your podcast?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. I think the episodes I've done, so the first series I've done contains 10 episodes. So you've got some Man United ones, Liverpool, Everton. You've got so many different ones on there. If you feel like you've got a great story to tell, or you've been following your team, it doesn't have to be for over 10 years. You can be following for a couple of years. That's exactly what I want. Drop me a message and come on, and like I say, when I first started doing them, I was like, and I listened to myself back, I was like, oh God, I hate the sound of my own voice. But I knew I had to get used to that. And I think, like I say, everyone that's come on and's gone, oh, do you know, that was great, that, and built so much confidence up. So if you feel like you've got a great story, or you've been following your team for a long time, feel free to drop me a message and come on and we'll talk about it.
What's the best way for people to get in touch?
So you can get in touch with me on Twitter. So my Twitter handle's Mike_Holt_GTM, or my Instagram's MikeHolt95, or just have me on Facebook at Mike Holt and get in touch.